Get ready for the world's greatest Arsenal podcast. Welcome to another podcast by Guns and Yellow Ribbons. Enjoy the show.
Tonight, I am joined by four Gooners. I'm joined by Big Steve. Big Steve, how are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. You good?
I'm joined by Mike, who's just caught his finger in something.
Yeah, you know them bits of end skin that you get between your nail.
Yeah,
I've just pulled that and it ripped all the way up my fucking finger. Bastard, that hurt. Sorry for swearing. That hurt.
All right. And we're also joined by Old Man Trevor. How are we?
No good.
Yes.
Carry on.
No. Okay. Listen, before we start,
score, Trev. Let loose.
Hang on, Mike. Before we start, we're recording this on Remembrance Day, the 11th, and the whole country falls silent at 11 o'clock. I just want to take a moment, to pay respect to the Arsenal players who fell in the Second World War. The Arsenal players, there was 9 of the 42 professionals on Arsenal's books in 1939, didn't make it back, and they were Sidney Pugh, Harry Cook, William Parr, Leslie Lack, Bobby Daniel, Hugh Glass, Cyril Toos, Herbie Roberts, and Bill Dean. So we won't forget them. Right, guys, moving on. Trev, I've had a WhatsApp conversation with you earlier in the day, and I know you're well up for this. We're going to look at the Villa game first and foremost. We went into this game on following Steve's birthday. Sorry, the first one that comes up here. Joe, sorry, Joe. We're not going to do a lot on it. We're just really going to touch on some of the stuff, and it's going to bring up some of the conversation points. But yeah, just bear with us. Get yourself a beer, okay, and sit down and relax. Right, so we went
Good
into
old
this.
Joe. How you doing, sweetheart? All right.
We went into this on good form. We went into this after Steve's birthday and a 1-0 victory at Old Trafford. We had the same lineup as we had at Old Trafford. I know, Trevor, you were working, so you couldn't get a chance to watch it, but you listened to it on the radio. It probably is even more painful. But, you know, despite dominating, we created very little. Lacazette came closest when he headed over Tierney's cross. Going into the match, we boasted the best defense, having conceded just 7 goals in 7 games, and it was the Gooners that basically struggled at the other end of the pitch. Arteta needs to do something about our shooting boots. Villa, on the other hand, I felt were outstanding. They played us at our own game that we played like United at United the week before. Steve, you watched the game. What were your thoughts on it?
A shambles. As soon as it started, obviously there was the goal that was ruled off, and after that, I just knew, I'm not looking forward to this, and I sort of half switched off. I was doing other things as well, but to let in a goal, I mean, and to be fair, it was a cracking finish, but obviously you got that argument that was Leno impeded, blah blah blah. So it didn't start well. Going in at halftime 1-0 really, really flattered us, I think. Then Partey went off, and as you say, as every other person on a podcast this week has said, we were played off the park from 1 to 11, absolutely dominated, and it's not good enough. Not good enough when you say it's the same team that went away to Man United and put in a performance. Yes, we won 1-0 with a penalty, but we didn't concede. We stayed in our positions. Everyone did their job, and this week it just absolutely fell apart.
And Mike, Villa had a goal ruled out, which Steve discussed there briefly in the first minute from John McGinn, and he put in a Jack Grealish fantastic cross. Should that well, forget whether the goal should have stood or not stood, because, we could go on about the Xhaka goal a few weeks ago and so on. But should that have been a warning to Mikel Arteta, a warning to the players? Should they have woken up and smelled the coffee that they were in for a tough day at the office and they need to pull up the socks and dig in?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, that was the warning signs, and it came in under a minute. That's the issue there. You see, the warning signs were there straight off the barrel. We knew it. I knew then, as soon as that goal went in, and all right, it was disallowed. But even I knew, it's like, right, they're putting in a performance here. We better step up our game for this one. Just didn't get it. Did we? Didn't get it.
Like Martin in the chat says we haven't been playing well all season, and he also says that United was a solid, but we were lucky with them being poor and getting a penalty as well. Because
see, I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think we've been playing bad. The problem is that our forwards aren't doing enough. That's my issue at the minute, and it's not the first time I'm saying it. I've been saying it for the past 3, 4, maybe 5 weeks. Our forwards are not doing enough.
Trev, what was your view on the game? I know you haven't watched it because you were so fuming after listening to it at work. But what was your view on just say the first half performance and that disallowed goal and so on?
Well, Fergus, you're exactly right. I did listen to it at work. We have every intention of coming home from work, putting my feet up with a cup of tea and watching a good Arsenal win. I really thought that we were going to win that game. I thought we'd started to turn a corner. I don't agree with the fact that we got lucky at Man United. I thought the first half of football we played at Man United was one of the best halves of footballs I've seen from the Arsenal team in a long, long time. What's frustrating me is where our weaknesses were last season, we've got stronger, but where our strengths were last season has gone completely to pot. And I include Aubameyang in that summing up of the forwards, which it starts to make you want to look at the bigger picture. You've got to tailor. If they weren't up for that game from the start, the Arsenal players, I don't know what's going on, because that's a team that beat Liverpool 7-2 or whatever it was, So they knew what they were getting when Villa came to town. It wasn't a hidden. They didn't jump out of the woodwork from somewhere and suddenly become a good side, Villa. It was clear to see from previous games that although they'd lost a couple, they had a bloody good team, So I think it's time with the Arsenal Football Club in general, we start to look at the bigger picture. And Joe's just put up something there, right, which is very interesting, Joe. And it's once you've finished talking about the Villa game, I know it's something we're going to move on to, Fergus, because Arsenal Football Club needs looking at as a whole. We've got the inconsistencies, we've got the failures. But there's a bigger picture expanding by the more I look at it, mate, the more I think of things and I think, oh, wow, what about that? What about that? What about that? And it's been going on for years. It's so frustrating, really frustrating.
Just for the benefit of the people who are listening to this, Joe put a comment up. For the last 6-7 years, we've had 3 or 4 standout performances, but have failed to win the bread and butter games. Man United was one of those games, very typical Arsenal, and the rot of inconsistency has to be addressed, and that's what we will talk about. That how the manager should be supported, and where he needs to address the defeat. The first goal that we conceded was an own goal by Saka. I think he was unfortunate. He was dead on his feet. He was absolutely knackered throughout the game, in my view. And the second 2 goals were scored by Ollie Watkins, an Arsenal fan. And came from, where was he before? He was at Brentford before, and he was signed for 28 million, which is pretty cheap for a striker these days. He's not an outstanding striker, but he's a good, hard-working striker. He scored 2 against us. He had a hat-trick against Liverpool in that 7-2 victory that they had against them. Villa are almost the polar opposite to us. They're turning up for the big teams, and they struggled against Leeds. They struggled against, I think it was Southampton, was it? Yeah, Leeds and Southampton, and they conceded 7 goals in there. So 2 inconsistent teams, but we'll go on. We'll go on and talk about some other parts. So we talk about up front and the forward line. If you look at the forward line, where do you think it's going wrong, Trev? Because Aubameyang just couldn't score in a brothel, could he, at the minute?
Don't we all wish we could answer that question, Fergus? Don't we all wish we could answer that question, right? Is it the forwards or is it the midfield not supplying them? You just don't know. You don't know what goes on behind the scenes to make this poor performance come from nowhere. But what we are seeing is, right, I'm just drifting a bit here, Ferguson, but I know you'll shut me up when you're ready, son, so it don't matter really. But
Go on, Trev.
I thought we'd turn the corner, right? I thought we'd turn the corner this season, Fergus, you know. Much as I thought we'd turn the corner when Emery first come. Because don't forget, Emery put together a win of 20-odd games, a run of 20-odd games unbeaten. I'm not saying that we deserved all them games because we got lucky in some of them. But nonetheless, you start thinking you've turned a corner and then suddenly the Arsenal team have got this habit of putting you right back on your backside with not just a bad performance, an awful performance, a poor attitude performance from people we know that can do better, right? So the decline is continuing, Fergus. And it's a decline that started, apart from the odd up, it's been mainly down. This decline started when we moved into Emirates Stadium, right? This decline started when we moved into the Emirates Stadium. I know we've had a few highs since then, but the basic trend has been for us to be a poorer team, right? We moved into the Emirates Stadium on back of a load of promises. We had to do it to be more competitive. We had to do it to give our fans a responsible, a reasonable ticket price. We had to do it to keep up with the top flight in European football. None of that has materialised. When it didn't materialise, we were told that the cost of building a stadium was financially stopping us spending. That was what we were told, right? But there's other teams that have built big stadiums, one not far up the road, and it's cost them billions, and they're still flying this season, still spending money. So then it starts you thinking off on another tangent, you know. The people that told us this new stadium, right, was what was warranted were proper Arsenal men, you know, Ken Fryer and the like, who we trusted implicitly, right? And it's just not come to fruition, and gradually. Then you, as we move into the Emirates area, you start thinking, well, why haven't we improved? Then you think, did Wenger stay too long? Some people will say yes, some people will say no, you know. How did we end up going from such a fantastic, big playing football team to a team that couldn't kick a ball for a few years? You know, you've got interesting. Who was it? Someone said on telly the other day, when they were plugging Arsene Wenger's book, right? Arsene Wenger used to arrange the training, arrange the diets, and just let the players get on with it. Well, that's fair enough when you've got a certain type of player, but you do that with the wrong players and you're off. So I'm not saying all this is wrong and all this is right, Fergus. I've got loads in my head, loads more than this. But where is the reason? I don't know, pal. I don't know what the reason is, you know. It's the current squad where we find ourselves today. Is that still Wenger's legacy? Are we paying a price for Wenger's legacy still?
If Emery,
look, right, you move it on. I'm not finished. You move it on, right? Emery came in, right? Emery came in, and did he get the backing from the fans? He was all right when he was done that 20-game unbeaten run. As soon as we had a bit of an hard time, all the fans started taking the piss out of him because he couldn't speak English and all that. When our fans should have been behind him. He's our manager. He was having a bad time. And then his last season, we were cost a Champions League place and we were cost a UEFA Cup final win by players that let him down badly. Do you remember the run into his season? It was horrendous. Yeah. And then the Europa League Cup final, the players never even turned up, never bothered. They let Emery down awfully. You know, so it's not just one thing, Fergus. This has been building and building. Right, I'm going to shut up a minute because I'm going to lose my voice.
No, listen, all really true and valid points, and you know, it's good to hear a passionate opinion from a true Arsenal fan. But the original question was more to do with Aubameyang, and Steve, since you can be a bit more measured on this, I'll come to you. We had a question on Twitter from, sorry, I got it down here, from Footy Lover. Why is Oba being played out wide. And in the chat, we got Portillo Supremo asking, I think Oba should be played up front and Pepe and Saka on the wings. And also saying, what do you think about Oba playing up front? So what's your thoughts of Aubameyang's positioning? Where would he be better? He didn't play very much in the centre at Dortmund. He did it for a little while, but he's a left winger.
No. I'm
he's-
going to interrupt you quick. Sorry, Steve. I
No
got proven wrong on this, Fergus, by my main man, Corey, as well as Jerome. Corey proved me wrong on that. He played the majority of his game up front for Dortmund
Okay.
throughout his career. So, yeah, I got proven wrong. So, go on, Steve. Sorry, mate, for interrupting.
Yeah, well, that's one thing I was going to say. Obviously, last season, I heard that thrown around so much, and where I was busy and at the pitch, it's sort of one of those things. It was like every time I'd hear somebody, whether it be on Twitter or whatever, it's like Aubameyang's not a central striker. It's like, but he is. He's, like Thierry Henry, he started out on the left, got moved centrally. Aubameyang, as soon as Lewandowski moved ship to Bayern, Aubameyang was playing, and that's the reason he was played out wide to start with, because it was to accommodate Lewandowski. How can you take a player that's scoring 30 goals a season and shift him out? But then you've got a player that sat on the bench that's easily capable of scoring 20, 30 goals a season. So he was played on the left alongside Lewandowski. With Arsenal, when Aubameyang came in, if you remember, Lacazette, I think, was injured at the time, and Aubameyang slotted straight in through the middle. He played it. I think his first North London derby, it looked as if we were playing two up top. Aubameyang does drift off to the side because he's got that pace to take on the fullback and get him behind the inside defender. So Aubameyang playing up top would be a very good option right now, in my opinion, simply because the job that Lacazette is being asked to do, he isn't doing. Even when he's in the box, he's missing chances. He's missing headers, completely missing the ball. The other week, he went to swing a leg at the ball and completely missed it. The fact that we're not creating enough, Aubameyang is absolutely wasted out wide. I think.
Apparently,
what was I say?
while I was doing it.
Yeah.
Mike is
100%.
he's babysitting at the minute, and he's just said this Boston knows Aubameyang has to play central. He's quick, but he's not a player who likes to go 1v1 against a defender. He's more gets into space and then puts the ball on the back of net. He's not creative like Thierry Henry.
That last sentence is exactly what I was going to get at. Obviously, a little bit long-winded, but he doesn't create. So having him out wide is very good when you have other players. Like we saw in the FA Cup final, FA Cup semi. If you can have a player that's going to, you've got midfielders or you've got, players that are going to take on a player, draw them out of the line, and then put Aubameyang in space to cut across diagonally and either, put it straight across or tap it in. He's perfect because he's out of the game. You're not expecting it, which is why he fills that role on the left so well. But when we're not being able to put through those balls, he's doing nothing, which is why the claims of him being lazy and him, even when he's been scoring goals, we've said before, he's never in the game that much. He may spend 70 minutes out of the game. He'll get a few touches. Most of the time, they'll turn into goals. At the moment, it's not happening. So do something different. Our strikers, Eddie and Lacazette, whenever they play, despite scoring 3 in the first 3 and Eddie scoring a few, they're not clicking, and we need to try something different. 100% Oba through the middle.
Mike, the only way is Arsenal asked on Twitter, and it probably goes on from this. Arteta's loyalty to certain players. What's he seeing that we're not? Also, his tactics his tactics stifling Lacazette and Aubameyang? Because we're better than we were defensively. We're probably better midfield defensively as well, but it's the creativity in going forward where I think we've gone backwards a little.
First of all, I would say no, they're not stifling him. I'm sorry, Steve, I'm going to have to disagree with you. I think Aubameyang has been very lazy lately. In these last few games, he has been very lazy.
But I mean, that's not the main reason.
Necessarily, the way I explain his laziness is not his work rate. His work rate is fine. I can say it now. But it's that hunger to go towards goal. That's what we're not seeing. And that is an issue for me. This is a guy who needs to be, who's a golden boot winner. And he was only, one goal off 1 or 2 goals off being off Golden Boot winner last year. So this is the issue for me at the minute. He's not showing that tenacity, that wanting to go to the ball, wanting to get that goal. He's not showing that at the minute. So he has, to me, he's been very lazy. As for Lacazette, and this is where I'm going to play into the creativity side of it, Lacazette had a perfect opportunity to head a ball into the net. He has now taken the 50 pence head from Lichtsteiner from me, because that should have been an easy goal.
I said it was
straight, it went straight over the crossbar. So when you say about creativity, the creativity is there. It may not be in the sense of what we're used to seeing at Arsenal, as in having a number 10. We're not, I think the game's changed from that. And I think this is where Arteta's changed the way we're playing. And I think people need to understand that this is what's happening. The problem is with Arteta, like, to answer your question, yes, it's not stifling the forwards. The forwards just aren't doing enough. They're not pushing towards it. This guy Lacazette, in 2018 was probably his best year for us. That's it. 2018, 2019 season. I think I might be wrong on that when it could be the season before 2017, 2018, but that was his best year for us. Ever since then, he's just dropped off. And sorry. I'm missing the question. Let's go with the question again.
Is his loyalty to certain players?
Yes, that was it. Yeah, loyalty. Yeah, the loyalty. Yes, it is. The problem is these strikers can't finish their meal. They can't do it.
Yeah,
and because they're not finishing their meal, replace them, move them around, switch it around a bit, show us something different. The time is now to start showing different things. If players aren't playing to their abilities, move them along. He's already done that with other players. We've seen it happen with certain players. Look at Guendouzi, look at Ozil. He's dropped him. He's left them out the squads completely. We're not asking him to leave these players out the squads completely. What we're asking him to do is show us something different. Show us who could do it. Move Aubrey into the middle, like people say. See what it goes. See what happens. It can't be any worse than what is already happening.
Trev, following on from that, again, 2 Twitter messages that came through up the Arsenal and a response from the Goon 1960. Should Arteta be seriously reconsidering the way he approaches the game? And the response that Sean Power, the Goon 1960, said he should seriously reconsider the constant micromanaging from the touchline. We talk and we comment about hearing him speak in all these several languages and talking in the empty stadiums, and just being constantly shouted at and told, move up, move left, move right. Do you think that's having an effect on players at all?
No, the one person I can't pick on at the minute is Arteta, Fergus, because it's obvious, as I just ranted about, he's inherited a club in turmoil. He's a level-headed man, and we've got to trust him. We've got to trust him. He is our one hope at the moment. So, no, I'd love to see him play Alba through the middle. I am losing a little bit of faith in Lacazette. I'd love to see something different, just to look at it from a different perspective. The micromanaging from the touchline. What did we used to moan about all the time up until 2 seasons ago? What did we used to moan about all the time, every single game?
Enough of it.
Not enough of it. Wenger sat on his backside for 95 minutes of a game. We used to moan because he weren't up, sorting his players out and cheering them on. And when we were winning games a few weeks ago, people were saying, oh, look at Arteta up there, back in the side, sorting it out. The stadium's having no fans in has been brilliant because it's allowed Arteta to stand there on the touchline and get his ways and his message across. So, no, I don't want to see Arteta sit down. That'll bring back too many other bad memories, Once we get the fans back in the stadiums, it's down to us to lift the side as well. It's down to us to lift the side. I'm taking another minute, Fergus. I'm sorry, son, but that stadium doesn't give us. It will rock. That stadium does rock. We've all been in that stadium when it rocks. But as fans, we have to work so hard to make it rock. because it was designed and built with one thing in mind: money, and getting more money out of football world. You know, there's nowhere for the fans to congregate and really make a noise. There's that bloody awful middle row all the way round that just breaks it down. So it's a massive thing. It's a massive thing, Fergus. This club, we're in trouble. We are seeing change. Hopefully, it'll come. But then you see that on Sunday, and you just think, what's happening? What's happening? I don't know.
I'm just gonna. You just put that comment up from Russ. I'm edging towards that point. I'm sort of agreeing with on that one. I think sometimes you do see, like, there was another comment as well, like Pep, he micromanages his team, but he doesn't micromanage him throughout the game. You know, you can see he's spotting points and he's taking it there and then he'll sit back down and then come back up. The problem is I'm finding with Arteta is he does micromanage throughout the game. He doesn't sit down and he goes on and on. So sometimes you think, yeah, it could be having a negative egg. Is someone hearing the wrong thing? Are we getting confused? Is cross wires somewhere and stuff like that? So yeah, it could at that point. I'm not having to go at Arteta, by the way. I'm not in these Arteta out bollocks, whatever. No, thank you. Honestly, I'm not doing that.
What I'm saying is, anybody who's in any of those fractious camps,
yeah. What I'm saying is, what to the point. What I'm saying is, show me something different. It's time to show your cards, for instance. Stop playing this poker game where you're bluffing constantly. Start showing these cards. Start laying down these, start laying these cards down. Show your full house. Show everything. Do it. Go for it. You've got nothing to lose now. You've sorted out the defense. You've done really well with that. It's time to start moving it forward.
You know what? Just so people know, Russ was saying micromanaging the players is having a negative effect, and they're not allowed to create any freedom. But what did you just said a second ago? Sorry. What did you say a second ago? I was trying to read out that question as well as answer what you just said at the very end. Give it their all.
Yeah. Well, start moving. What I said was, sorted our defence out. It's time to start moving forward with it.
That was the point. I was talking to Mem in the week, and we've talked several times, and we were saying about the team, or was 3 or 4 players. It didn't have a spine going through it. We've got Gabriel, who in the main is a really, really a good addition to the centre halves. You've got Partey now in the midfield. And now we just need a proper out-and-out striker. And once all that's done, I think then that it's like as a spine, and then all the fleshing out of the team will come. We probably need somebody creative. I know there's been a couple of comments in there about Ozil. Should we bring him in? No, thanks. He's done. He's dusted. He's not even named in the squad. There's also comments about Willian, and we had some tweets about that. The Masked Gooner and Andrew, the Hinkling Gooner from Dial Square, asked about Willian. Is he the next Mkhitaryan? Should we have more faith in the youngsters? Steve, should we have more faith in the youngsters? You like the kids.
I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that. Just a disclaimer: I'm not on any sort of register for any viewers, Willian.
Yeah,
I do understand why we got him, and there's been a lot of why did we bother going around. I understand that we were lacking creative players. I think, he can play as a winger. He can play as a 10. He is a 1 in 5 player, and we all said that. But I think we brought him in because he was there. He was ready. We knew what you were going to get. Unfortunately, he hasn't delivered half of what he could, should be delivering. That's unfortunate, and that happens with certain players. You can argue Pepe was exactly the same. But you look at a player like Willock, who has been fantastic 2 games now in the Europa League. And yes, it's Europa League. Yes, it's lesser opposition. But are you telling me he wouldn't be able to make any sort of impact with some just drive and some freedom? And the thing with the young players, you've seen it with Nelson, you've seen it with Willock in the Europa, you've seen Arteta do it at the back end of last season. He lets these young players go out and express themselves. Eddie does it. Eddie plays, Eddie looks completely less static than Lacazette does when he comes on. I don't know whether that's because Arteta's just saying try and impress me, or whether he's not giving him as much of a direct job to do. I don't know, but I think some of the youngsters could make a difference at the moment. I think if we shift who is playing up front, you then look at the option of playing a back four, pushing Saka up top. Saka needs a rest, but pushing Saka up top and let him play in his natural position of, on the left, on the flank. Let him come instead. Let him try and do things from out there. You bring in someone like Pepe or even a Nelson, and you play him on the right, and you let him do what he wants to do, and just see what difference it can make. Because at the moment, these Williams, the Lacazettes, they're not doing anything. So I think, it is time to try and give something to the youngsters, considering they're putting a performance when they do get a chance.
Trev, would you have Willock starting? Or would you put Pepe in the centre? Would you drop Willian?
Look, Fergus, I would definitely be trying something different after that performance on Sunday. I wouldn't be very popular in the dressing room this week, because if you're a manager of people and let those people go out and perform for you like that lot did on Sunday, then Arteta's got every right to really put them in their place this week. Just want to ask you a question, right? Manchester United, Chelsea, do they have to sell players to survive? Are they short of money? Right, I'll answer it for you. No, they're not. They're not. So why do Chelsea and Manchester United, why do they sell players like Willian, like Cech, like Mkhitaryan, like Welbeck? I'll answer that one for you as well. They sell them because they're getting on a bit and they're not good enough anymore to win Premier Leagues and play top Premier League football. That's why those clubs sell players. That's the only reason they would sell players. They don't need the money. They can buy better, so they ship them out. And we're buying them. We're buying second-rate players, right? And it's not on. Of course, I'd rather see Smith Rowe, Willock, Nelson, Maitland-Niles, and Nketiah. Oh, I've got doubts about all of them young lads. None of them are proving themselves yet. But I'd rather see them playing than any of them players I mentioned just now.
Would you be
the
happy?
only reason they come to Arsenal is because they're not good enough to play at their other clubs.
Would you be happy, and the other guys can answer this as well, would you be happy, Trev, if we played Willock, Smith Rowe, Nelson and ESR in the squad as first-team players and we finished mid-table? Would you be happy?
No, because it'd show a lack of management skills on Arteta's behalf, because we don't need to play all of those players. We have got decent players. They're not performing at the moment. And what we've got to do is work out why they're not performing consistently. Why? Not can they, because we know they can, right? We've seen all of those players play well. But there's times when they just don't turn up and they don't turn it on, you know? There's a book, right? There's a book, John Sperling, good author, right? Wrote a book and I've read all his books, but I can remember reading in one of them, it's not word for word, right? That players don't have love affairs with clubs anymore, right? Players it's a business to players. Only us poor fans have love affairs with clubs. And that's why we sit here like I am tonight, ranting about it, right? But we need some players with some heart, with some passion. We need some players that are going to play for the badge on this shirt. And I don't think we've got that at the moment. Well, week I think we have, and then another week I think what's gone on. And it confuses this old fella, let me tell you, Fergus. It confuses me greatly, mate.
Mike, should we give Balogun a go? Especially, I think in the Cup and the Europa League, we definitely should be, don't you?
Well, this is the difference, and this is what I can't understand at the minute, and this is why I'm saying, show me something different. Show me. Get it done. You know, we've got Lacazette has turned stale. Let's face it, he is turning stale. You might as well drop him, get rid of him, or drop him to the bench and say, look, if you don't start performing, this is where you're at. Move someone out, like I say, move Aubameyang in there. No, don't
bring back Frank.
So you've got that. Yeah, why not give these youngsters a chance? You know, you're giving Nketiah a chance, and I just don't think he's doing as well as what he probably could be doing. I often think to myself with Eddie, you know, is the Premier League too much for him? You know, he's only a small lad. He's a small framed guy.
He's a Defoe, though, isn't he?
Yeah, and as the game moved
No,
on
he's
from
not,
Defoe,
Steve.
I mean,
Well,
in terms
I know-
of stature.
yeah, in similar style.
I'd
Similar
take a
style
Defoe
impact.
right now.
But yeah, I
Yeah,
get where
no,
Steve's
but I
coming
meant
from.
in terms of stature, he's a very
Yeah.
small, he's a very fox in the box. Defoe, you know,
Yeah.
as much as it pains me to say because of the time he spent at the shithole, was a very good player. You
Right,
know,
watch
he
your
was
language,
also
young
a
man.
Sunderland player. So, you know, for two reasons, for 2 seasons, I liked Defoe when he was up north. But no, it's with Eddie. Yeah, I'm
It's
the
not
I'm
putting
the
out
same
for him,
with.
is it?
Exactly. I'm the same with a few of them. But then you look at, I think Max was saying the other day on Art Bros, you've got Lacazette, who's got such a high ceiling of how good he can be. And then Eddie's ceiling is nowhere near what Lacazette's could be. Then you think about the players like the Willian, the Aubameyangs, Lacazettes that aren't performing at the moment. So is the fact that Eddie isn't quite doing as well as he could be simply down to the fact that the whole team isn't? I don't think this season is a great indication of how good some of these youngsters could potentially be.
Sorry, hold on a
Willock
second.
especially.
Hold on a second. It looks like same old Arsenal or Arsenal fans TV are calling Trev midway through the. He was on the phone. Sorry, carry on.
No, I know that was. I just took a call, boys. That was Bentner's agent. He's just told me Bentner's available on a free if we want him. So I'm just telling him.
I'd probably be as much use as Bentner.
Yeah. Just make sure he pays for his taxi, won't you?
If he does, don't let him drive. He's had a few crashes, hasn't he?
But no,
Drunk driving. And all sorts.
I'm similar with Steve. You know, he may not have a higher ceiling. It's the same for the other young lads. They may not have a higher ceiling than the guys that we've got now. But at the end of the day, these guys are putting in performances. You know, they're trying their hardest. Look at Willock in the last 2 Europa League games. He's put his all in. Surely that deserves a shot over the likes of Willian.
Yeah,
who's not really putting in performances. No, don't. Let's not go there. As much as I'd like it, I don't know it. I think it's more heart over head on that one with Wilshere.
I'd love to see Wilshere back at the club, probably as an ambassador more than a player.
Yeah.
But I can't see him making it on the pitch.
Sorry, but as I was saying, it's the same with Nelson as well. He's put in some really good performances. Where's he gone?
It's,
You know, where's he
it was
gone?
the same with Maitland-Niles. Look at Maitland-Niles is no one. You know, I think you said the other week he'd signed the contract, got told he'd play, bought into Arteta's process. Where has he been? I think he's played 2. I think he played a game at right wing back and a game at left wing back. I think since. There we go. Must be thinking, why didn't he go to Wolves? Well, Wolves have replaced with some cracking players themselves, but it's a strange one, and I think a lot of it is Arteta is being very cautious when perhaps he shouldn't be. Going back to trying new things. Obviously, Lacazette wasn't working. I think he knew that when we went to City. I'm talking about just getting into it. He knew that Lacazette wouldn't be the best option. I think he knew that Nketiah would get bullied by the centre back, so he tried Willian as a false 9, hopefully trying to create a bit more than what Lacazette is doing and offering a bit more than what Eddie would. And it didn't work. So he has tried things, but now we have to do something different. I think we have to go to a back 4. We have to have another man in midfield, whether that be Ceballos or whether that be Joe Willock. I think one of those two have to play because Partey and El Neni are forming the 2 games they've played together. Obviously, one was cut short, but they've looked as if they can do a job going forward. And I think we really miss. I said it at the time when we got rid of him. I think if he wasn't injured, a player like Welbeck would really suit us right now. Because he does, may not score the goals, but he made a bloody nuisance of himself every time he played, whether that was on the flank or through the middle. He just runs. He's a bull in a china shop in the box. He just causes problems, jumps at everything, tries to get ahead on everything, and he causes issues. And we've lost that with Giroud. We've lost that with Welbeck, Eddie, Aubameyang, Lacazette. They're not an aerial threat, and I think just having that a bit more ballast in the box as a striker would do us a world of good right now.
See, listen, boys. Richard Butler's just come in here fishing. We know what you like, Richard. We know you've come fishing, but Richard actually makes a decent point there, right? Have we overrated our young players? I said it. Was it last week or the week before, boys? I said it, didn't I? You know, they're not like new on the scene now. They've all been around a few years.
Mhm.
Is it a case of we haven't given them a proper chance, or are they maybe just not good enough? You know, I don't know. And I know
think a
we've
bit
gone
of
on
both.
about it before. Listen, I know we've gone on about it before, but it needs mentioning again, right? It's not. I can't state enough how I think it is more about the bigger picture of the club present and past, right? We're playing badly now. We have started to strengthen the spine of the side, but we still, how did we end up with all these £100,000 a week players on the books that can't really kick a ball? I don't even have to name them. You boys know who they are. And you look at teams like Leeds, like Wolves, like Leicester, like Villa. They're all better teams than us now, and they've not spent anywhere near as much money. So where are we going wrong? There's something badly wrong with our club.
Teams like Leeds, like Villa, like some of the other teams you've mentioned, like most teams, football teams, have a team of scouts. We have a computer program that the Cronkies, I can't remember what it's called, but the Cronkies brought in, got rid of all our people who look at footballers and see footballers, and they look at stats. They're trying to copy the American system. They're trying to copy the Moneyball.
I'm going to disagree with that. That wasn't Kroenke who brought all that crap in. That was Raul who brought all that crap.
Wasn't it Gazidis?
Gazidis started it. Raul sort of finished it to get rid of all the scouts. And then I believe what Raul had, he had agents. That's what he had.
Yeah.
And instead of going for the right players, he went for the easy money and the easy dollar, basically the easy dollar.
Raul was all about this, mate.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Raul offshore bank accounts. I'll tell you that. I'd love to see Raul's offshore bank accounts. You know, it's bad. But you see, I'm not defending the Cronkies here, right, boys? I'm not defending the Cronkies because I don't know enough about them to slate them or defend them. But what we do know is they have put money into the club, right? They have, whether we like it or whether they don't. They have bought players. We've spent a lot of money on players, right? And they won't know a lot about football, I would assume. No. So they would have put players into Arsenal Football Club to run the club for them. They would have put people in, the likes of Raul, the likes of whoever they've had in the past. And if I was Mr. Kroenke now, I would be looking to score a point because I would be up on the big screen at Arsenal saying, I asked these people to run your club. They're not doing it right. He's going. We're starting again. Because
that's why they have.
Yeah, you've got to think, Trevor, as well. That's sort of starting to happen. You know, with the likes of Raul being forced out the club. You know, these things have started to happen, and bringing in Edu. Is it Josh who got to know him quite well? So they brought him in. Yeah. They've brought in these things. They've brought Arteta. He was linked before Emery was. So he must have been contacted beforehand. Obviously, there was in talks with him. He obviously at the time it wasn't the right move for him. So we got Emery. So all these things that they're starting to push and they're starting to go into that favour. And then you had the likes of Raul, who was still doing dodgy dealings. Like, look at the dodgy dealing that he did with Pepe. How much he must have backpotted a lot out of that. Let's face it. There's no allegedly about it. Let's face it. That happened. I don't care what anyone said. That happened. He got some coin out of that. His back pockets were full.
Listen, if any solicitors are listening, I don't necessarily agree with that.
Not me. I want to keep the roof over my head.
I've got nothing for you. You can take it. You've got nothing. There's what I earned right there.
But listen, Mike's right in a way, right? Because hasn't Pepe been poor? £72 million.
He hasn't.
£72 million.
But that's not his fault.
He's not, Steve. He's not been average. He's been worse than average. Oh, all right. I know he's not. Maybe we're playing him in the wrong positions. Maybe he's playing in the wrong side. But if you're £72 million, you should still have a basic set of skills, and we're not even seeing that, mate.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're not wrong. I disagree a little bit. The price tag put a lot of people didn't really know about Nicolas Pepe when we were linked with him and when he was signing, but they hear that 72 million pound price tag and they think this guy is going to be absolutely incredible. He must be. Why are we paying the money? And when he doesn't hit the ground running, people are instantly on his back, and they were. You know, you had a lot of people that were saying, "Oh, give him time." And I think, you know, he's not had the greatest start to his Premier League career. Obviously, you had the issues with Emery. You know, Pepe came here not speaking English. Emery didn't speak English. You had players and translators trying to get through what was going on. He'd have 2 or 3 good games, and he'd be dropped. He'd then come back into the side and he'd do something good and produce a moment of magic, but he'd be crap for the rest of the game and he'd be dropped. And this is the thing we've seen this season as well. Pepe hasn't been fantastic, no, but he has got a moment of brilliance in him. You know, last season, I think, what was it? He scored, I think, 11 goals, was it? And a bag full of assists. And considering how poor he was, to get those stats, when you look at somebody like Lacazette, or anybody else that was playing, you know, could have been playing on the right, Mkhitaryan, whoever, you got to say, well, actually, he is an upgrade. He may not do as much as, you know, the other players may do in terms of legwork and getting up and down the pitch, but he has that moment win us a game, and he had won us games. Pepe's such a tricky one. I like him as a player, but I don't think he's necessarily worth anywhere near 72 million. But then what is the other option? You know,
I think the problem is.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on, Steve. I was going to say,
Fergus, put that comment up from Rick again with about it not being Pepe's fault. That's really important, right? Rick's exactly right, you know. And this is why I've been saying that there's a bigger problem at the club beyond players, right? It's not Pepe's fault that we pay 72 million for him. It's not Kolasinac's fault that we're paying him 100,000 a week. It's not Mustafi's fault that we're paying him 100,000 a week. If someone came to me and said, "I'll give you this, you come to me," and I liked it, then I'd go. So, you know, I'm not blaming the players, and I've said that before, and I'll reiterate it. It's not the players' fault that they play for Arsenal. Someone has to go looking for them. Someone has to buy them. Someone has to purchase them. Someone has to coach them. Someone has to G them up. And that's where the problem lays. Something is wrong something is badly wrong.
And Trev, hang on, Steve. People are pointing the finger at Arteta and the fans' lack of patience with Arteta. You know, he hasn't been in the job a full year yet. Do you think that's justified? That the Twitter sphere and the podcast platforms and everything else?
No. Twitter cost Emery his job in the end. Arsenal fans were savage to our manager. The way they used to take the mickey out of the fact that he spoke English with a funny accent was awful. You don't hear Leeds fans getting on Bielsa's back, do you? You know what I mean? You've got if Arteta is our only hope. Arteta is our only hope at the moment. Our hope is that we are developing a good top-class manager. And don't forget, he's not head coach anymore. He's now manager. So let's hope they let him manage, and let's hope we've got a good one, because he's all we've got. I'm telling you, he's our hope.
Listen, and his job title change from head coach to manager shows that Kroenke and the management team and the board have faith in him and are committed to him. So if you're in one of those camps that say like Arteta out or whatever, honestly, you're just blowing hot air for no reasons whatsoever. Mm-hmm. One thing that they seem to be doing quite a lot of these days is releasing a new shirt every other second. And
you're going to give me a heart attack tonight, you are. Jesus Christ.
What's out now?
Trevor can't afford to keep up with them, honestly, because he's like a magpie when it comes to an Arsenal shirt.
It's crazy. You know what I mean? It's great. The fans can't go into the stadiums, right? We've got teams that ain't performing on the field, right? And all they want to do, I think last week we had that red shirt released, right? That red
AC Milan shirt,
whatever it is, warm-up kit. Then the following day, I'll see them, we've now released an anthem jacket, whatever an anthem jacket is, but that was best part of a ton. And then this week, there's been another blue warm-up kit come out, I'm sure I've seen. Where does it end, Arsenal? Where does it end? We're not bottom of this
doesn't.
pitch. Start performing on the field a bit, and then we'll buy some bloody shirts. It's unbelievable.
Christmas coming up.
It's
though,
all
isn't
about
it?
money.
And another
Jesus
thing about money
Christ.
as well. Another thing about money, they've got my 2 red members and my junior gunners for my grandson. They got my partial
off.
payment of my
I'm off.
season ticket. They've got Steve. They've got Steve's red membership money. They got Mike's.
I pulled it.
You pulled it.
I couldn't afford it this year. I'm like, I ain't going to see football this season, so
But
I managed to
my-
pull
my
it just on time.
My point being is they've got
Yeah.
all these people's red memberships, silver memberships, and some season tickets and some partial season
Mhm.
tickets and corporate, all this money. What should they do with it? Should they roll
Spend it
onto
on
next-
sending the fans a little hat and a little notebook.
That's a good point. I ain't got my red membership package this year yet.
I got my last
No,
2,
I
and
didn't.
literally the hat went on my head.
I got my
Guys, do you
junior
know-
gunner one. From
I've got a season ticket, right, and 5 other memberships that I pay for. I've got my grandkids, I've got my sons, I've got my wife's, and they all come out of my bank account. So I had all their memberships come out, and none of their memberships are going to be able to purchase a ticket. So at least just drop me an email, Arsenal, and make the robbery seem a little bit lighter. At least say something like, we're going to give you half of it back, or we're going to knock half of it off next year. And then you take 215 quid off me for my season ticket, right? Because I might have a chance to go in a game. That's fair enough. So, yeah, I'll come in, Arsenal. I'll go in the ballot. Here's me 215 quid. Lovely, jubbly. But now we're never going to go to a game this season, or very unlikely to. But have I had an email saying the money's safe with us or anything like that? No, it's probably all sitting in Rail's offshore fund, isn't it? He's probably making the interest on it.
you'd like
I'm done with
you'd
it,
like
money.
you'd
I've
like
only
them to
got a
kiss you-
pension. I'm an old man.
You'd like them to kiss you on the cheek and whisper sweet nothings in your ear as they slowly sodomize you, wouldn't you?
Oh, I don't know about that.
I'm still waiting for my membership package. I'm expecting a pair of socks this year. I'm 9 to 12 socks, by the way. Arsenal.
You might get one sock that's got that hand painted banana thing, and then you'll get the other sock that's the AC Milan.
I'm
type.
expecting you'll get the right sock, and you have to pay for the left sock.
Yeah, probably.
Listen, Trevor, you mentioned as well about fans back in the stadium, and we've all heard the news about this vaccine that Pfizer have brought out, and that will be probably rolled out next month in certain age groups, and it will eventually get down to, I think, up to 50-year-olds. So only Trev will be able to get one of those, unless
Get out of it. Trev's at least 35.
See, Mike's a decent bloke, but it's funnily enough, right? At my age, you have to go to the doctors quite often, right? I had to go for a blood test today, and I was talking to the nurse as she was stabbing me in the arm. I don't like needles.
Cough.
As she was stabbing me in the arm, and I said, "What do you think of this new vaccine?" She said, "Well, yeah, I'm not sure about it because by all accounts, it's 2 injections. It's not 1 injection. They have to give you 2 injections,
it is.
and they have to sit and watch you for 15 minutes after you've had it in case you die." You know what I mean? So it's a little
not in
bit
case-
like worrying.
it's
That
not
was.
in case you die. It's a live vaccine. Okay, I'm not a medical expert. My wife works in the NHS, and that's what she does. It's a live vaccine,
Right.
and they give you a small bit of this live virus, which creates antibodies, and then a week or 2 later, you get a top up, and then they don't know how long it lasts for. They know it's 90%. Or 90 to 94% successful. But look, this isn't a medical podcast.
Why turn it into one? What are we talking about? This is an Arsenal fucking
no,
show. What are we doing here talking about medical shit?
We're talking about
What are
me
you making
surviving
me
to
swear?
go to a game next
Will-
season. That's
will-
what we're talking
will-
about, son.
Will it mean that we
I'm
can get
old.
back in
If
the
I get
stadium?
COVID, I'm gone. Jesus Christ.
Jesus, this is hard work. Will it mean that we get back into the stadiums? That's my question. Because I tell you what, I'm sick to death of this lockdown, and I'm so missing going to the football. I'm sick of watching that fake noise, no noise rubbish.
I still love when the DJ presses the wrong button when he thinks a goal's gone in, but it hit the side net and you just go, whoa! Just
Hey,
stops,
hey, Ferg.
stops dead and
Hey,
cheering
listen,
again.
Listen, boys, Ferg, you're close, and I'm coming down. Canvey Island have been drawn at home in the next round of the FA Cup, right? And I know for a fact if you go up on the sea wall at Canvey Island, you can see all the ground. So I'm going to go down there and stand on the sea wall and watch the game at Canvey. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to go and watch a live game of football from the sea wall with me.
Who've they been drawn against?
I can't remember. Boreham Wood. Boreham Wood. So it's it's a right local derby, yeah. Canvey,
Okay.
Boreham Wood, yeah, in the next round.
Let me know if you're driving. I can have a couple of beers.
Well, there's no pubs open, Duff lad. You'll have to take some with you.
Boy Scouts.
We'll get Donna to drive, mate. We'll be all right, I tell you. And I'm looking at her now. Yeah, she's giving it the big. Yeah, okay, we're on.
Yeah, I bet she is, Trev.
Will they have VAR there, Fred?
I think they're going to have VAR. I think they're going to have to do VAR for Donna and Trevor here in a minute.
She's all right. Yeah, here we go. Potsy will come. Look, Potsy's in the comments. Look, are you coming, Potsy? We'll stand on the wall, have fish and chips, watch a game of football, get drunk, and Donna can drop us all off home afterwards. Hang on. No, maybe Donna can't drop us all home afterwards.
Just crash it mine. Guna Ross, it's called a vaccine. Yes, I am drinking Corona. Listen, we were going to talk about VR. We are running out of time. We'll give it 5 minutes or so. But we talked about it the other night as well, Mike, on the Arse Bros briefly. VAR in this time should be so spot on. There is no impact of fans screaming at the referee, going, "Oh God," whatever. It's just been atrocious. There was somebody offside for an armpit. It's absolute.
Somebody offside for pointing at the ball, wasn't there?
Yeah.
So he was onside and he pointed where he wanted it and they've called it offside, even though you can't score with your arm. And the rule apparently depicts that you can only be offside if there's a part of the body that you can score with. Then how you're pointing?
Language, son. Language.
Shocking. I didn't say it.
You're not on Arse Brothers yet, Steve.
No, honestly, you have to be spot on. What's really winding up with it? Why is there no VAR in the Europa League? You're playing in all the top stadiums that all have VAR in their league games. What? They can't have somebody sitting in a box somewhere in the middle of nowhere to do the same job. They're not earning enough to have one extra night a week. Like, it's ridiculous.
Mate, I've said it before and I'll say it again. There's only so far then wankers fans can go now.
Language, Timothy.
The issue you've got with
I thought you forgive me, Trev.
The issue you've got with the Europa League and VAR is some of the clubs are really, really small, and they've brought VAR in at the latter stages. I think it's the round of 32 or something like that. So
sack it off. Sack it off.
Well, we said it on. We were discussing it on Arspros, weren't we? We were saying, I think Max was saying, and he made a really good point about VAR. In some sports, I think it was mainly rugby, they have a set time limit to make a decision. If that decision doesn't happen or the ref doesn't change his decision, then it sticks with the ref's original decision, which I think is right.
I think it's
like a minute.
It was in Australia. It was rugby league, and they got 30 seconds.
Yeah, rugby league.
Yeah, rugby league, or 30 seconds to a minute. That's enough. None of this 4 or 5 minutes checking if an armpit's offside or not. There's no need for it.
If you look at the first Villa goal, and a shout out to Alex Howarth, who's in the comments, who's a Villa fan. You're just here trying to watch us squirm. Well, we haven't talked about your game that much. We've talked about all things Arsenal. But 4.5 minutes to look at that goal, and yet again there was only 3 minutes added on, and there was an injury in that half as well. So if they are going to take 4.5 minutes, add on the correct amount of time. So, boys, it has been. I must admit, I was not looking forward to this. I'm not feeling it about football and stuff at the minute. And with the lockdown and all, just really wasn't feeling it at all. And I think I said to some of you beforehand, as you said, "How are you, Fergus?" "Oh yeah, full of the joys of spring." This is my office where I work in as well, and I've been in here for 8.5 months. And I know I'm quite a sociable guy, and I normally go out and see people. But I'll tell you what, the three of you guys have made my evening. I've really had a good chat and good. I'm a bit more upbeat than I was about an hour ago. So,
Wait,
Trevor,
I've not finished yet. I've not finished, Fergus.
It's even started.
Every
I
time.
ain't finished yet.
Tell him.
Just listen, right? Just listen, because us three don't need telling, right? Us three don't need telling. We are all Arsenal fans. Don't be picking on Arteta. I know we've had a rant and a moan on here tonight, but nothing's got too personal. No one's been slagged off really badly. No one's been called bad names. We've just spoke about the club and the problems we've got at the moment, the way we see it, right? But don't be calling for Arteta out. Don't be calling for the players to be sacked. Don't be calling for telling us all we're a crap team, never to recover. Because if you're an Arsenal fan, you back the club, you back the team, you back the manager through good and through poor. And that's why I put this badge on tonight, right? The 1971 Cup final badge, right? Because that's when I first started following the Arsenal. And trust me, boys, I've seen good, I've seen bad, I've seen good, I've seen bad. Today it's bad, tomorrow it will get better. So just remember, don't be slagging them all off. Support your team. Support the players, support the club. Fergus, I'm now allowing you to move on, son.
Allow it.
Nah.
I love it, Trev. Keep going, mate. Keep going.
Absolutely.
We need to hear the old man. He knows his stuff. Let's have it, Trev. Keep going.
He does know his stuff. Lads, a shout out to Rick, and I was trying to look further up. We've had a few new YouTube viewers and subscribers. Guys, if you like what we do, click the like button, follow us on Facebook or YouTube. We, as Trevor said, we're just Arsenal fans. We just sit here, we have a chat, have a beer or a
Fergus,
coffee or a tea, whatever you want.
Stop that now.
Get the names up. Get the names up. People need to follow us. They want to follow the old man.
Arsenal fans. We are Arsenal fans. We are Arsenal fans. Not just Arsenal fans. We are Arsenal fans. Yeah? Like it's not Arsenal, it's the Arsenal, right? Because we're special. We're great. We're great fans. We're a great club, and we've got to show it. Right now, I'm shutting up now because I'm going to lose my voice in a minute. Let me get a drink. Hang on.
You have been listening to Trevor. Sorry, no, you have been listening to Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. If you like what we do, as I said, hit like, subscribe. We'll hopefully see you in the next few weeks. Not sure what we're doing next week with international break.
Boring.
Lockdown with no football. Guys, only one last
while we're talking about international football, right?
Only one last thing to say. Up
the Arsenal.
You've been listening to Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Follow us on Facebook at Guns and Yellow Ribbons and Twitter at Guns and Ribbons. And remember to rate and review us too.